All right, you're live.
Good morning, wonderful universe. A little something from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke often of the beloved community as a way of transforming people and relationships and creating communities grounded in reconciliation, friendship, and human dignity. Key principles included nonviolence as powerful expressions of courage, understanding, trust, and love. Today, we want to talk to you guys a little bit about what we're doing with communities in farming, ranching, wellness centers, and retreats. Well, Joy, why don't you get us started?
Well, I just want to kind of, MLK started small. Okay, Martin Luther King started small with a few people in living rooms. And that's actually how this community grid started. I had this idea, and during the pandemic in March of 2020, nobody was in my office building. So I decided to look on LinkedIn. I never took the time to do that. I had no clients. I was like, whatever. I met this woman named Cheryl, and that was two. It turns out I was looking for a different Cheryl, and I got this Cheryl Bassett. And what happened is that she had the same dream I was, to start a ranch for elders, families, and kids. And I was like, well, what are the chances of that? Well, now, almost 2 years later, we have an entire nationwide network that is, we even have people in Canada right now who are collaborating together with the community grid, which are farms, ranches, startups, or existing, that we synergistically bring together, and with consultants, but also within other who have things in common. So again, Martin Luther King started small. We did as well. But anything that you want to do to find peace in your life, something that is your mission and purpose, it comes very easily when you start with two people. And then all of a sudden, like Cheryl introduced me to the Global One organization. And then we started doing these webinars. And then we started talking about how their initiatives fit with this. And then they sponsored this event. And it's something where a grassroots effort makes a huge difference, especially now when agriculture is really important to grow your own food, right, David? That's what we've been talking about a lot, is if you grow your own food, all of the challenges that are coming up around agriculture in our food supply, and also work can be done at farms and ranches. And so things are becoming non-traditional that used to be traditional. This is an opportunity that we can help you synergize whatever your mission is, whether it's agriculture, whether it's children, whether it's elders, whether it's art, and put it all together through these communities that we have pulled together.
Yeah, that's great. Joy, there's so many aspects of this we can talk about. We started out by contacting small farms and different retreat centers and groups and wellness individuals, and just trying to find out their ideas and what they needed help on, and what we can bring to their community by joining with our community. And there, the power of community is so much stronger than just trying to do something by yourself. And with the communities, we structured and restructured and structured through the past couple of years to find great models to be able to help everybody from existing farms to new startups, ranches, and everything. So we're working with farmers in New Mexico, where Joy is at now, and we've got a farm that works with autistic children and brings them to the farm and allows them to just be themselves and learn the different practices of farming and building, and just giving them that freedom to really just shine as the individual that they are. And that's one of the big goals we have here, is to help individuals just shine in their own ways, and give them resources to be able to create more things and bring more people to their locations, to just help this to grow, from bringing wellness to the farm, yoga events, different types of events, peace gatherings, drum circles, and just really opening things up. And that also brings more revenue to the farmers. You know, with the supply chain today, things are dicey and are getting expensive. But if you know a good farmer, you're in good. So our concepts go from small to big. We can do communities of 700 lots with 3,000 people or more. There's so many great regenerative practices that we're working on, all the way from permaculture to ag forestry, and different ways to approach things.
And Dave, I'm going to add on, I'm going to kind of clarify so our byline is the next wave of workforce, wellness, and agritourism for all generations. So here's the key. Not only are we connecting people to come to destination farms, ranches, wellness centers, and retreat centers, but what we're doing is we are creating commonalities and synergies between different farms and ranches where they have the same mission. Because I've been going around New Mexico helping farmers out, because one person has 200 acres of land, and if their car breaks down and they're in the middle of nowhere and they are not able to even get help. However, when I say workforce, wellness, and agritourism, here's how it all ties together, because community is like all farms create a farming community, or a little town is a community, or a city is a community, or a neighborhood is a community. But what this is doing is this is actually reinvigorating the opportunity for farms and ranches and wellness centers and retreat centers to create unique, customized jobs based on who the people are that are coming. That's not being done. And that's why kids are leaving the rural areas after high school. So we are creating opportunities where they can learn a wellness modality. They have some kind of skill that no one else is doing there. There are a lot of things going on around in New Mexico where they're taking smaller areas and bringing in art galleries and things like that. Right now, I'm in the process with my colleague with the community grid, Claudia, of creating field trips for elders. And then they actually bring art and their own skills to these farms and ranches. All of this is about attracting people to the farms and ranches and experiencing things they've never experienced before. Most people are coming out to see what it's like to actually work a farm and ranch. And so this is something where people pay for this. I heard about a large ranch in Oklahoma. They charge $1,500 per person for, I think, 3 days to rustle cattle. So they get free labor, get paid for the labor, but these people leave with an experience where they see where their food comes from, and how important agriculture and farms and ranches are to our lives generally. So this is something where families also can engage in a different way than going to Disney World or something like that. There's nothing wrong with it. But wouldn't it be amazing just to step out in nature, hike around with your kids, talk without your phones in front of you? We are creating an opportunity for the farms and ranches to make a living while living off the land. We give them. So what we do, David and I do, we consult with these ranches and give them the opportunities that make sense to them, so that you can have these agritourism experience. Every person you meet that comes to you as a guest is another opportunity to learn something new about what people like. It's also about sharing the love of what you do on your farm or ranch. or the one that you want to start that's in your head. We help you get that up and running so it can be lucrative for you. It can be engaging and also give you pride about what you're doing, but also you're teaching, helping people learn, helping people heal, just like by bringing them out to your beautiful destination. So you don't have to be alone if you're in this space. We can figure out a solution.
Yes, and so we're working with intentional communities too. We want to be able to bring a 80 acres and have where you can live, play, and earn. Our concept is an employee-owned company that or a co-op that the individuals working on the farm get the benefits of the overall corporation, to be able to just sustain themselves and bring them back to nature and allow them to be there instead of working 10 hours a day and driving an hour and a half back and forth, and your day's already 13 hours gone. You get home, eat dinner, watch a little reality TV, and go to bed. And that's just not healthy. They've done a lot of studies on it. And when you can get back to nature, health has changed in individuals. And we really want to bring community. So we're working on veteran communities and to where we can bring veterans in. There's too many homeless veterans. There's over 40,000 just in America. We need to, these are the men and women that have given their time and to keep us, give us freedom and every aspect for there's no reason that they should be homeless or having issues. There should be resources such as bringing them back to nature, allowing them to reconnect. And again, our biggest thing is getting back to yourself. We're working rural and urban, and our urban concepts are like to, be within 20 minutes, half hour of a populated area so that we can have teen hours, hours for just teenagers. It's sad that you got to have the most fancy clothes and the fancy watch and everything else. So we want to open these communities and farms and allow like the teenagers and children to just come and be free and have different educational programs on everyone to be able to allow them that freedom and to learn at their own pace and maybe find something they really love and have that space to just really be themselves.
Yeah, and talking about the intergenerational piece, we're in the process of, intergenerational is often considered elder and child. But intergenerational is mothers and somebody 10 years older than them. It can be a mentor with the same, it may be the same age, but you have the same interests. So bringing forth this intergenerational thing is really important. But Dave, I wish you would please share about your experience with little David, your son, and how he has enriched your life and the farms that you all been traveling to the past couple of years.
So about a year and a half ago, me and my son decided to, I was very stressed out in my construction business and came down with some health issues. So me and my son sat down and talked, and I was 10 years old at the time. And we decided to sell everything and buy a camper and start traveling the country. And we've been to Denver, all over Florida, Missouri, Ohio, and what we do is I homeschool them, and he's just been shining. You know, they tried telling us in public schools that he had learning disabilities and everything else. And then when I got him out from the stereotypes and everything else, he just started shining, and it actually got his confidence back to understand that, you know, he is his education, and it's what he wants to learn. So you know, we got a good 4 hours of school a day, and then, you know, he's got a few hours on the farm. He's helped raise 700 chickens on a farm that also had goats and a cow, and he would round up chickens to sell to other individuals so that they'd have fresh eggs for their family. And just great community. The farmers had spaces for individuals to come and stay for, you know, a week, a month, or years if they wanted to, just to and then feed them and volunteer. The individuals would volunteer, and the farmers would feed them 3 meals a day, and you'd work about 20 to 25 hours a week, and then you'd get to pretty much, it's like a free vacation, and you get to wander around Miami and the beaches and Naples, and we're in Homestead, Florida, which is a very popular agriculture area there. And then going all the way to Denver and seeing a mushroom lab that brings gourmet mushrooms and medicinal mushrooms to individuals, and just to I always believed that with my son, that even though he's only 10, but he can speak on a Zoom call, he can speak in front of a group, because I've always allowed him to sit in and watch, and you know, I never pressured him to do it, but after time and time and time again, he would you know, it just came to nature to him, and he really loves being able to learn all the different plants. He was taught how to climb a coconut tree and how to open up coconuts, and everything from weeding to planting trees, and really just getting them back to nature. And in that time, he would be 6 hours, 8 hours, you know, it'd get dark out, and he wouldn't even think of an electronic or anything of the sort, because he was just so happy that with the things that he was doing, and the friends he was making. The volunteers on the farms we were like big brothers and sisters, and took them coconut hunting, and we would go on trips with them to national parks, and just really allowing him to shine in his own ways. And I think that's one thing we've lost with individuals, with our children. You know, as a group, we're so sucked into reality TV and different things that we need to set aside and use it more for a treat instead of an everyday venture, and get back to nature, and for him to watch his food grow and being able to harvest it, and make his own smoothies, and from the fruits that he picked from the tree. And it's the last year and a half's just been amazingly wonderful for him. And I mean, he can sit with an adult and hold a conversation for hours or two, and you wouldn't even think you were sitting there talking to a 10-year-old, and he can tell you about his adventures and different things that he's done. And you know, I think Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., this is what he was talking about. You know, eventually we want to grow to like having these intentional communities to where we can help homeless individuals actually have a place to go to live and work, and be able to find themselves again, to be able to get back into to, you know, I don't even want to say the world, but that internal self to be able to shine and to be able to travel on that canoe. And just it's been a joy. And at first I was nervous of doing it, but as we went on, just to see the difference of them, it really knew we were in the right place. So
No, it's really true. And your son has inspired me so much. I met little David at a networking meeting in Chicago where I invited David to. I know he's in Mexico, but I mean, like, I was in awe of this boy. And the thing is, how often do we ask kids for their input on what's happening in the world? How often do we ask elders to help us? Or do we assume they're not capable enough? Capability is all generations. Even someone who has their pinky is all they can move, give them something to do with that pinky. So this is not about, oh, well, they're sick, or, there's COVID or something. In the great outdoors, it's all fresh air. And it's an opportunity for people to come out in the winter, even in the depth of cold, all the way to the heat of summer together, and observe each other and find a synergy together where they actually can be curious again. So many people right now are fearful, but when you go out to these destinations, and we are putting more and more on our website, which we will include somewhere for you. What's happening is, if you go out to nature, you learn a lot more about yourself. When I was probably about 10 years ago, I was living in the suburbs of Chicago, and I had this dream, and I heard the acronym RANCH, and it's rest and nature can heal. I've done a video on this before, but rest is the pandemic. The lack of rest is the pandemic. Yes, we have COVID, but people are not resting well. And whenever you get into nature, there's no distractions. There's only sitting, observing, sitting with yourself, being with an animal. Just yesterday, I was riding my bike. I live on a ranch, and I'm in a communal environment as well to learn how to ranch. And I was riding my bike down. This is the kind of experiences that you can have spontaneously. I was riding my bike down the driveway. Our driveway is about a half mile long. It's a meandering driveway. And all of a sudden, the 4 rescue horses that we have in the pasture were running along beside me. That delighted me for the entire day. I felt like I was in like this cool movie or something, but it was like we were synergistic in that moment. So it's something where you never know what's going to happen. You can be curious. You can wander about and not really know where you're going, and you get the peace that you need without having to force it in any way. So it's really important that, going back to the intergenerational stuff, is that we realize that we all can contribute something. Even if you can make a couple of phone calls to somebody, or let's say someone is in home health and they're sitting at home, they just had a heart attack or surgery or hip surgery or something. They're focused on their disease. But what if we ask that person, hey, will you call my son? He needs a little bit of mentorship. Do you think that person will heal better? So that's why I keep saying it's the next wave of workforce, wellness, and agritourism for all generations, because it all ties in together. And even though we're talking about farms and ranches and intentional communities like David did, and wellness centers, retreat centers, it's also what is literally in your backyard right now. So I know a lot of people who are wanting to do more permaculture in their backyard, or grow mushrooms, or use tower gardens, or just do something different so that they can be healthier. So it's even on that micro level where we give people who want their backyard to carry on these concepts, all the way to the 100,000 acre ranches. So this is something where anybody who's ready to live off the land and make some extra money, or just want to experience it for your own well-being and maybe share it with people in your neighborhood. We have a mentor named John Morris with Global One. He's a really good mentor, and he always talks about 2 by 2 by 2. So just like I said at the beginning of the presentation, you have two people with an idea that's synergistic, and then we start telling two more each, and then two more each. Before you know it, you have families involved, different people involved. With this, how the community grid even grew to this point. We were just going to start a couple of ranches, and now we are helping ranches. So just go with it, where you just tell people about certain things, get together people in your neighborhood, at your workplace, and just ask them, hey, you would help me in my yard? Or do you want to come out to my ranch and hold the chickens so they get more acclimated to humans, or anything? And then it turns into something bigger than you can even imagine. So that's the point of making this unity happen, is that if we unify with a common cause, it ends up to be something much more meaningful and much more profound.
There's this great analogy that I love referring to, and it's don't be the lighthouse, be the light on the lighthouse. And a great example is my older son. He's 19 years old, and my daughter's a manager of a restaurant, and my 19-year-old's going to college for greenhouse agriculture. And he first started his college venture as wanting to be a pilot, and then COVID came through, so we were didn't have much space in the house to grow seedlings and stuff, so we have a crawl space, and we got in the crawl space and created this area to be able to start seeding plants for the spring. And come that spring, my son gives me a call and said, Dad, I just loved watching the plants grow. He's like, I changed my major. He's like, I don't want, he's like, I'll take a side note on flying airplanes, but he's like, I really enjoy watching the plants grow and be able to harvest what I eat, and it's so much more satisfying than going to the grocery store and purchasing a $4 pepper or whatnot. So when you grow yourself, it's just and being able to harvest it's just enlightening to all. So that's a wonderful thing, and being the light on the lighthouse for my children, never pressuring them for what they have to do. Being a single father of a long time, and being proud of them for handling themselves and being able to make those decisions and follow their heart instead of following a plan. And that's exactly what they've done.
Oh, and yeah, you're the mentor for that, and just allowing them to be who they are. But I agree with what you say about what your son did, where he saw them grow. When I first moved here, well, about 3 months after I got to New Mexico, almost a year ago, I had this dream, and it said, get your hands in the dirt. And I thought I was this is just a good example for all of us, because we get set in our ways of what's expected of us instead of what's really the highest good for us. So anyway, I became a woofer thanks to David. I knew about the woofing program, which is, he mentioned earlier, where you can volunteer on farms and ranches for room and board. And I went to this regenerative farm, and we started in the snow in last March. And but we had these greenhouses, and it was every day we'd be like, how are the babies doing? And we would go touch the plants and like see the sprouts come up. And there was a beautiful excitement between us, like it was a birthday party or something. It was like really like, how are the babies today? Oh my God, look, they're getting bigger. And look at it. And it was like something where we couldn't wait to get to the greenhouse to see it. And I want you to really think about what you're doing in your day. What is, are you stressed out about something? Well, where's the beauty And, it doesn't have to be nature, but you can ask yourself that question. Like, I don't get excited like that. But whenever you are, again, I'll use the word contribution, contributing to something that actually it takes care of itself. We plant the seed into water and it takes care of itself, even though we have all these agricultural ideals. But the reason we were so excited is because we never realized what a miracle each one of those little sprouts was, how it does it on its own with very little help, and that we get to benefit from it so we can grow just like they do. And that's what I noticed is like I am the queen of weed picking. I picked weeds for probably total of like 5 weeks if I put it all together. But you really learn about that too. Weeds are not bad. COVID is not bad. Stress is not bad. It's just something that is resilient and takes over whenever we're not treating the soil the way it should be. So we can learn so much from these metaphors in nature about, if we have healthy soil, your plants are going to grow and the weeds aren't going to grow as readily, which is regenerative agriculture. But it really opens your mind into your internal self and how you live your life. And we can learn it from animals, plants, earthing with our bare feet on the ground, observing nature, observing storms coming in, hiking, getting lost in the forest, just sitting in the sun. All of these things can give us things that actually get us out of the fears and the stress that we really allow in ourselves. So this is about getting in tune with all life. We're just as much alive as that sprout. And so that's what we're letting people do, is help go to these places so they can see life in a different light.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Joy. And you know, just people again are just too hard on themselves, and now since the pandemic, people are trying to find things that they really love to do, so it slowed us down and kind of made us think about what we're doing, and we need to take advantage of it, allow and accept, and don't absorb, to be able to grow as a community, working together. There's no race in community. There's no economic stature. There's no there's just no judgment. We're not here to put labels on people, but we want you to come and be yourself and find the things that you can actually shine in and that you love to do, and you want to wake up in the morning and be able to do it, and you kick open your front door and you're there already, and you're just like with a smile on your face, and all the way from animal sanctuaries and different stuff, helping protect the animals and give them their space and community too. They're so healing. I was on a farm in Ohio, and there was a bull, mama cow, and a donkey. And when I would drive in, when I'd pull into the driveway, you can hear them. They start mooing and just having us, calling for us to come over to give them a good pet, and just try to lick us with that huge tongue that they have, but just they're part of community too. The
Yes,
plant.
they are.
The plants, the animals, the individuals, the spirits, everything is community. And being able to bring those, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, beloved community, and just really being able to bring those together again and just really shine. You know, I'm from Chicago, and I've had a construction business for 18 years, and you know, the racism that you hear is just, it's nothing of what you think it is. Everybody open. I've sat and laughed with clients of all cultures, and just, you know, there's never been a judgment from any one of them, and never a judgment from me to them. You know, I didn't look at their money stature. I didn't look at anything. They understood that I had to make what I had to make to keep my company afloat, and do the things that I had to do. But you know, the friends that I've put together, and the community that's just grown and grown over the time, it has been absolutely wonderful. And to bring this concept into more farming, and getting things away from big corporations to and be able to bring those profits to the individuals, rather than, you know, just a bank where they're making more money off of the money. So
Mhm. Exactly. I agree with you completely. And there's something, a lot of people, I mean, we're in and you know, most people are in cities or suburbs, and there's nothing wrong or right about it. It's just what it is. But what happens is, like in Chicago, I lived there for 14 years, and in the winter, you don't see your neighbors for like 4 months or 5 months, maybe if they're shoveling the driveway. But there's something to be said, even if you just visit a farm or a ranch or a community, you meet people who are quote unquote strangers, but it's not really, because whenever you meet people you don't know, you open up a dialogue and you get these surprises that you never realize, and you can have you can have a discussion about things you can't maybe talk about even with your family or your neighbors. So it's really cool to step away. I call it the step away sometimes, to get a new perspective. And I've lived in communal housing since March, and it's been really great because we sit around the kitchen table literally and have a kitchen table conversation about anything from racism to relationships to how we can synergize together to grow this business here at Leaping Deer Ranch and Sapio, all the way to ideas, sharing our past, and mentoring each other. It's a beautiful space to sit at a kitchen table with people that I didn't even know a few months ago. And we have differences of opinion, but you know what? We work synergistically together even so, because we are here for a reason, and we feel like we need to be here and help with the mission of the person who created this. So it's a beautiful thing to step away and get a different perspective. And also, your life may just change forever if you know, and I will tell you, we had some guests recently, and Ohio is where Global One is. So we go out there periodically to work with them on this project. And I just so happened in the middle of New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere, meet some people from Ohio. And I told them we're going to be there. And they said, "Oh, well, we do tours of Cincinnati, and you can have a whole day tour with us for free. We're going to take you around, but we're friends just because we met for 5 minutes." And even the people in Ohio haven't done that Cincinnati tour, historical tour. So you just never know how your life is going to be enriched by stepping away. So we're offering these opportunities. We're putting together the network, and we're in the process of putting together the network online right now of who we're collaborating with, and our farms and ranches. We have flower farmers, we have everybody, so that you have options where you can have a destination to go to, or start your own community wellness center, or work with us to volunteer or work. We can get you a job at one of these places where you resonate, or if you want to start a project with elders or kids or the intergenerational, it all ties in together. It's very synergistic. So we're here to be your facilitators for that, to help you find the fit that will create a beautiful future for the rest of your life. Whether you live somewhere or you just visit, it all is beautiful.
I want to touch base on the community kitchen.
Oh,
So the community kitchen, like getting around the table, the one farm we had probably had about 20 volunteers at a time. And so, there'd be 25 of us around just with a feast along the table, and everybody just coming together and laughing, and just the energy and the synergy of new ideas that morning, and maybe even the silly ones, and just to get a good laugh,
or
and
hey,
share.
you ate all my food in the fridge.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing about community uh, kitchens. The food's there, and then the leftovers were in the fridge for anybody to help. And
Yeah.
there was no, this is mine, or this is the. You may go to the fridge and say, "Oh, it's all gone," but but there was never a sour moment of like, "Oh, they stole my stuff,"
No.
So, yeah, so to have that community in the meal times, and the farmers at that location, 8 o'clock was breakfast and 6 o'clock was dinner, and you were there, and the farmer's husband, he was the jokester, so we'd sit around and tell jokes and laugh, and he was a chef, and he told stories, and he's a chef for million and billionaires on islands that you can't even go to. So, but it's just that sense of community, and good energy. And we were there for months, and nobody ever. There was never ever any turmoil between anybody. It was great. You'd walk through the property. One of the guys would be practicing yoga. Then you had another set over there playing music, and they were learning new songs, and they would teach my son how to play an instrument, and he had a little recorder, and he'd run into the camper and grab his recorder and get down with them, and they always gave him that opportunity to get in there and then try to work with what he was doing, and really make something good out of it for him. And I think Dr. Martin Luther King really came out to, his words are so beautiful, and really these are the things that he wanted, there, to be able to bring to everybody, everybody's equal. There's no difference, even though you make $1 million and this guy makes 20,000. There's no difference between you. We all bleed red. We all cry, at a death, and we're nobody's different. The mainstream puts us into this figure of we have to do this or be that, and we don't have to be. The only thing you guys have to be is yourself. Be yourself. And Martin Luther King Jr. said that. He said, just be yourself. There is no judgment, and we just really love his words and his concept, and we will keep him alive in all of our communities with quotes, and always celebrate with the compassion games every year to bring the beloved community together, and just watch it grow. So we're really excited on what we're doing, and we can always use help. So we put into the chat, there's we're at globalone.org, and that's globalwon.org, and we're under programs, the community grid, and but you can leave your email address there or give us a call, and we can always use help in all different kinds of ways. So there's even ways for farmers. There's a lot of old time farmers that don't that don't want to leave their farm, and maybe their children don't want to farm the land and have to deal with it and all that kind of stuff. So with the non-for-profit, we put together a program to be able to keep the farmers in their house until they were ready to move to their next journey, and then the farm would stay active even as they left us to their new journey, and their life legacy would live on. So that's definitely something big that we want to put out there. You don't have to leave your farm. We can help you.
Yes, and beyond that, we have practical ideas as well, which we're learning as we go by meeting with all these farmers and ranchers and wellness programs. Because so one thing that came up recently, because I live on this ranch, like I said earlier, is that he's actually had his ranch showcased on Longmire on Netflix. New Mexico is a very big film state, and so we had this guy come out to check it out for a movie about a rodeo cowboy, and to see if this was a good location for it. And so I talked to the location scout, and I said, well, I have this whole grid network of farms and ranches and wellness centers. You could actually use that network instead of having to find places on your own and do all the internet research. If I could just give you those names, and he said that would be great. So that's just one opportunity. And the potential for this particular job, I don't know if it worked out or not, was $20,000 to the ranch just to use it for filming. So there's a lot of out-of-the-box solutions that we're not talking about because farmers and ranchers, like I said earlier, are kind of on their own. And so they are focused on their ranching and farming. That's more than full time. They're out there at night harvesting, whatever. But this is for us to come up with those I don't even like the word solutions, creative ways to create momentum for you, where money can come in the door and you can really enjoy it even more, and also benefit from people who are coming to see you and teaching them how important this is. So there's a lot of very creative things we can do with you. And David and I do free consultations, and it's just brainstorming how can we make this dream come true? I mean, this is my dream that I created, but how can I make your dream come true? And then we also have a platform through Global One called the ACE platform that's being built right now. It's an app, and it allows people with humanitarian causes from around the world to find the other people that are doing the same thing. So we can develop groups and committees like never before to make things happen on a bigger scale for you and to get you up and running. We also have contacts with government people, how to get grants, how to get funding. And we have the Fabulous Three, which is our marketing team that will our job is to also market you and get you out there so people know you exist. And we do it in a way, again, like David was saying, that Martin Luther King talks about beloved community. It's all about love. It's about coming together in love, doing what your passion is instead of sacrificing that because of practicality. We can help you make money doing what you love. If it's any of those things, from retreats to wellness, ranching, farming, permaculture classes in your backyard, I mean, anything, we can help you with that on every level. It's all about synergistically coming together with love and connection, and just sharing what we're doing in a way that's really beautiful. This is actually changing the way we work and the way that we live, honestly, and the way our kids are, like we said. So anyway, so David, I think we probably need to wind down a little bit. This will be recorded, I think, for 30 days on the site, on this channel, but we're here to help, and we're here to really, we're very curious. We want to know what you're doing so we can share it with others, because whatever you're doing well, I'm sure other people want to do it as well.
We want to help build that beloved community. We don't want to. We are building that beloved community, and we would love to thank the Compassion Games, which is just an amazing network of people. We've only been on it for a couple weeks, and just the people we've been meeting on it, the energy, just the great connections and the way they're set up to be able to really do this, and we're so happy to be a part of it, and can't wait to grow together.
Yeah,
It's so great
absolutely.
to have
So
you guys here. It's so wonderful to have this offering during the MLK Convergence. Thank you both for this. And folks have joined us too. I just want to make sure you're aware. Antoinette just joined us too. She and Pato had so much incredible generosity of spirit and beautiful music. I mean, great music and educational music too. All the teaching about Martin Luther King and our history as a people. So it's great to have you guys here and doing this. Appreciate that. Do you want to take a couple minutes and see if there's any questions from anybody? Open up maybe to a gallery view. Here, I'm going to look in the gallery. I see Antoinette's got her hand raised. Let me add her to the spotlight here too. Hello, dear sister.
Hi, Antoinette.
Hey, David, you're not going to believe this. I'm sitting there getting ready this morning, you know, to start my day and my routine and everything. And of course, Compassion Games goes live, you know, so I was like, okay, you know, after I did my morning reels of funnies and TikToking and things like that. So I just tune in and I'm listening and to hear what you guys are talking about, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is exactly what I was looking for because John, you never told them what happened with us, huh? So anyway, so here it is. I'm going to put it into the chat. It's called www.edentia.us. Okay, there it is. We just, right before my diagnosis, we had just closed in November. There's a lot of transformation of things that are going on, but our dream and mission of an eco-village and spiritual retreat has been something that's been on our mind for over 10 years. You know, we've talked about this for many years. We talked about it with our ministry for many years, you know, about an interfaith place, about the environment, about composting, about sustainability, about affordable housing, about spirituality, about social issues, about all the different things, you know. It's like we just need the place. And then everybody, we had a whole list of people, like probably 100 people had signed up or something. And then we started our GoFundMe, and then we raised a few $1,000s, but then it just kind of like, you know, but we have this list, you know, it's like this person's got, I've got a tractor, you know, I do hempcrete, I do this, I have straw bale, you know, I'm an expert in domes. We visited eco villages all across, you know, I've been to some in Hawaii, in Arizona, in Ohio, yes, and a lot of different places, you know, so, you know, that's also our love too, is actually going to visit them, to study and to learn from each one of them. I'm about to sign up with that Gemma Alliance, that worldwide network, because apparently this thing is much bigger than we actually thought it was. We thought the intentional communities and retreats and other places were just something that was kind of small and niche, but it's actually much bigger than we had anticipated. And as I'm going through, because I have all my lists of stuff, they just had like the tiny home convention over there in DC, you know, because they had to put that into the plans and stuff. And this is why I need to learn how to do this stuff, because in 2024, you know, what I'd like to do is to host a tiny home festival, or a festival on our property, because finally we have the property to be able to do the stuff, you know, like for instance, how do we do yurts, you know, like we have this section, this is like, here's yurt living, here's tiny home living, here's container, here's straw bale, here's composting toilets, here's how we do biodegradable, here's how we do tower farming inside, here's inside a dome, here's how we do sustainability. And check this, we found water on our land. This is California. You know how hard it is to find, you know, I mean, and it's dry and it's hot out here. So I know the reforestation, the tree planting, all this stuff, that's the preserves of the land that's next to us, how we can continue to preserve the land, but by showing all these developers and everything that there's a better way, you know. And I've seen the community living, because it's true. We started when we even moved down here. I didn't know anything about farming or anything. I was like, let me ask Facebook, I'm like, and then I wouldn't ask on Facebook. Everybody said, "Let me just go over there and show you how to do it." And this guy, he just showed up at my house. We went to Lowe's because Lowe's is my spot. He's like, "You got to get the stinky doo-doo dirt, the organic. You got to fix the soil, and it's all about the nutrients, and it's all about the stuff." And we just had a party. And these things are so much fun. And I said, next time we have a house party, I said, bring me a plant. Let's do a planting party, or let's do something. So we did. He taught me how to do my garden. I started my garden down here in Lake Elsinore because the gentrification forced us out and we needed to where we can buy land. We went on tour. I set up everything. I grew squash, cucumber, zucchini, strawberries, kale, all the lettuce, every tomato you could think of. I went on tour 3 months later. It was a jungle. I had to chop it all down. It's like different things. We can grow mangoes out here. We can grow sugarcane. We can grow all years. Sustainability, the whole thing. It's like, so now we have the land, but we're broke. Right? Yeah. So we got the investments. We got the donations. We got everybody to come together. We secured it before all the other developers, because during COVID, while nobody was paying attention, we didn't even realize, but developers have been going and sucking up all the land everywhere. They are chopping down the trees. Lake Elsinore is the fastest growing city. And if you see, remember, we had all the poppies. It's so beautiful. They have dug up all of this land around here. They're building 400 homes here, 500 homes behind us, 8,000 homes over there. It's like every little thing. And it's like, if we don't show them how to reintroduce, and we know we have the support for this, then let's do it.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to connect with you, Antoinette. I've got your email from yesterday, and let's definitely collaborate and synergize and really bring this to light. We're going worldwide, so let's do it.
Well, this is, John, why you do all the tech support right now, and all the things that you're doing is to bring us together. So thank you. And I can't wait to talk to you as well.
Yeah. So the connection's the start, right? We got to make that connection to start. But what we're imagining are writing together the tales of synergy from the Magic Canoe.
Oh, love it.
What this means is paddling and publishing together. So you start with synergizing our attention, just to get each other's attention, to co-regulate, self-regulate, synergizing our intentions, and synergizing our capabilities. It's the head, it's the heart, it's the hands. So it's great that we can connect. It's necessary, but not sufficient. Now it's actually to write those stories. And we're going to be talking about, like, my incredible wife, Summer Joy, is connected with Antoinette. When the whole Bridging the Divide conversation was a perfect example of the way we're writing a story of synergy that's bringing people together that in the past maybe weren't comfortable having these kind of conversations that we need to have now.
By the way, talking about synergy, this is my Summer Joy.
Oh my gosh.
Her name.
Really, that's her name?
Yes. I talked to your wife last summer, but that's my Summer Joy.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, this is the joy that I believe is possible for us, when we live the life that we've been called to, when we're willing, like Dr. King says so many times, if we can't run, then you just got to crawl. I mean, whatever it's going to take, we got to keep moving forward. So we're so grateful for you guys and the work you're doing and for the opportunity to share it on this network. Thank you, David. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Antoinette. I love you and Pato, and everything that we're up to is a blessing and a gift.
Love you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Bless everybody's heart.
All right.
Awesome.
Everybody.
Send me an email, David. Enjoy.
I will. We'll be talking soon.
Y'all come over. Y'all can come stay with us while you come check out the land and do your consultation.
We're traveling right now, so that sounds good.
Awesome.
Perfect.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we say. Magic Canoe, moving between worlds. Lots of room. Everybody's welcome. Here to serve our journey home.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So I